Shaykh, there's been a lot of controversy and discussion with regards to Shariah, the word, Sharia law. It's been made of, the word Sharia has been made fun of by certain politicians, and some talkback radio hosts as well have said basically what the politicians have said, and that is, if you want to follow Sharia law, then Australia's not the place for you. Without having any understanding of what is Sharia law, a lot of people have made certain statements about it. Could you explain what is Sharia law and the application of Sharia law by Muslims upon themselves and within the Australian community?
The Muslims before anyone else understood what is the Sharia. Sharia means the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The application of a Sharia, the Muslims, of course, there's two issues here. The first issue is believing of the Sharia. Every Muslim cannot be a Muslim, as we said in the beginning, without submitting to the will of God. Unfortunately, someone talking about the Sharia and he claiming he is from the believers of God and who goes to the assemblies of practicing sort of religion. Big shame on them to talk like that. They are rejecting God himself, and that is a serious matter. It's not a simple matter. I would accept that from a communist person who doesn't believe in God and his laws or even his existence. But from someone saying, I believe in God and I love God and I love Jesus and I love... How could he talking or make up with God himself and his laws? But for us, now to come to the Sharia and how we deal with the Sharia, there's some issues. The Sharia, first we have to believe in the Sharia is the ultimate goal for every society, really. Wants to bring harmony, wants to bring the best of the mankind out. There's no other way except that. But this is one story. The other story is how we do it. And if you believe the Sharia is the solution, Australia is not your... Well, this is... I know why they say that, just to bluff the people, and maybe themselves they don't know what even they're talking about. Otherwise, the Muslims been in Australia for decades, and we never heard a politician before these people come to say, look what the Muslims doing. They are having Sharia law in their mosque. Of course, building a mosque is part of a Sharia. Praying is a part of a Sharia. Paying zakah is a part of a Sharia. Looking after your neighbors is part of our Sharia. At the same time, it's part of our common sense or the Australians' values, as they say. But we don't look at it from that. We look at it, we do that. And this is one of the main issues here, the difference between a believer and a non-believer. When you believe in God, you do things and trying to please your God. You are not doing that because someone said that to you, or the law force you to do it, or no, you do that from the heart. And that is the main issue. You can't change the society by force. You can't change the society by adding more police patrols or security companies. This is actually, I see it, and not just me, myself. So many academic scholars see it as a part of the sickness in the society. When we need more police, that means we have more crimes. That means we have problems. We need security to every store we have. We never had that in Australia until today. Why we need that? What happened to us? Then we have a traumatic change, and that change come in our hearts. And if we want to add to the problem, then we talk about throwing God from our life. And if we want to solve the problem, we have to bring God back to our life. And respecting the heart, which can change the man. Nothing can change the man. Not any force on earth can change the man except the force of loving God and working for God. Why the Muslim does all the good deed, or even a good Christian. Let's talk about the good Christian. Why we say it, a good Christian. Why we don't say a Christian? Because that trying to follow part of what Jesus is saying to him, as we are trying the same thing. So the Muslims doing these things, cleaning, he sees some, let's say, glass broken in the road, and he stop and clean it out, not to harm a child or an elderly or even anyone. The Prophet, because of the Prophet ﷺ taught us, he said, Iman was it Shariah? They call it a Shariah. We call it an Iman. The same thing. It's so many branches. The highest branch is La ilaha illallah, the testimony of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there is so many different. One of them is cleaning the road from the dirt. Is cutting a branch of a tree could harm the people passing by and get to their eyes and get their eyes off. Giving the dog cleaning water to drink. The Prophet ﷺ told us about a very bad sinner girl passing by a very thirsty dog, and she said, oh, this dog is very thirsty, dying from thirst. What should I do? She went to the well and she got some water by her shoes. She doesn't have anything except her shoes. And she filled her shoes with the water and bring it to the dog. And the dog drink from that water and thank her. And from his heart, he didn't talk to her. But by his action, he said thank you to her. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thank her for saving the dog. And the thanking of Allah is forgiving her sins. And this is teaching us what to do. Then when we see the same thing, we do the same thing. So looking after even the environment, looking after our elders. I still remember Prince Charles talked once to the British. He said, why don't you look after your elders like the Middle East people? And this is something missing in their values, as they say, their values. Their elders, our elders is like a holy person in the family. We look at them as something so holy, as something bring blessing. Our serving our parents is something not, we do it with feeling heavy on our heart. And the opposite. We remember how much they did to us when we were young and weak and small, and we couldn't do anything without them. Now it's our turn to do everything for them until they pass away. And when they pass away, they pass with so much dignity. This is the Sharia. The Sharia is a system. We work through it. We need it in every part of our life. Something we can practice it in Australia, and every Australian needs it. As I said, looking after your neighbors, giving charity to the poor, making volunteer work to the community. This is part of our Iman and our Sharia. It is the same. It is part of the Sharia of Australia. Yani the Sharia means the law. We say the Sharia, Musharra, all it means the law and the lawmakers. And I'm asking Costello or others, which one you prefer? The creator who created you to make laws for you, or someone like you make laws for you? Which one you feel you have more dignity following and obeying? It's not the matter here only, well, they don't, anyone making these excuses, well, we have more freedom, we have the freedom. Every freedom has its limitation, even by our law, by the law made by the man. Even the road, can you have your freedom? You can't. There's limitation. Some roads 50, some roads even 40, some roads 100. You can't say to the police when they stopped you, why are you stopping me? I am free and we are in free country. No, you can't. They say to you, Habibi, there is a law, you have to follow it. You can't do that. They give you a fine. Even they could take your license for good. So how can they do that? Because the law said so. The law gives them the ability to say so. So every law has its limitation, even for Costello himself or anyone. So this is, but the difference here, when I follow the law, if the police seeing me, well, I obey the law. If the police is not there, or I guarantee there's no police, I will not follow the law. How many times they put ads, they put signs, they put fines, huge fines for the people who drink driving. Every day we see it on the TV. How many accidents happen, but the people still doing it. Why? Because this law only enforced by the police and the people. There's no watchdog on your heart to obey this law. But the law of God, you know, the God himself watching you and seeing you. And he doesn't need anyone to tell him what you're doing. He knows if you do it right or... And your conscience knows. When you disobey God, you know you're disobeying God, and you come to repent. And you try not to disobey him as much as possible. And this is why the difference. The Muslim practice, he doesn't drink. Not because he aware of... There's nothing in Australia can stop you from drinking, but the Muslim doesn't drink. Why? Because the law of God in his heart. There's nothing to stop you from drinking. There's no such law in Australia. Doesn't allow you to drink. But the law of God comes first and say, in your heart. Muhammad said it. Quran said it. 15 centuries ago. Not today. But the people still practicing it. Until today, until tomorrow, until the day of judgment. If really the governors of any country wants to be obeyed in the appearance, in the hidden time, in the secret time, in the normal time, in any time, the Sharia law is the solution. Because by the Sharia law, you will be obeyed. And the Muslim governor, when he say speed is limited for the safety of the people, such and such, the people will obey it. And who doesn't obey it, he will feel guilty. And the society, all the society will be unhappy with him. But look at the society today. They don't look at the police with so much respect. They use what they call the police. Very bad names. And I say, when I have an opportunity, I say to them, why are you doing that? I look at them, this, that, and especially when they stop them and give them fine. I say, without the police, we will not be able to drive with you. You will be driving mad. If the police around you and you're doing that, you're speeding, as the police commissioner himself, he came from New South, he said, They driving in 60 zone, 160. That's out of any one range. But this is how it is. Because nothing in the conscience. Why should I obey you? This is what the youth saying to you. Why should I obey you? You say drugs is not allowed. They still, even they go to the most dangerous areas to get the drugs. And they know they will be hanged if they be catch. But they still do it. They say, maybe not me. Just last year, or even this year, in the beginning of this year, about 11 people being caught in Indonesia and someone in Singapore, and they hanged the one in Singapore. Youth gone for nothing. Why? They don't know the drugs is hurting them, is very harming to them. They know. They don't need anyone to tell them. They know. They tell you more than anyone else because they know by experience. But there is no conscience to teach them, to stop them, because this is need the will. Smoking cigarettes or smoking marijuanas or all these druggy things, they need will to stop. And the will come from the Iman. There's no Iman, there's no will. This is what the Sharia law we are talking about. We are not talking about an alien law coming from another space which doesn't benefit the man or benefit the society or benefit the country. The opposite. The opposite 100%. As I said, the revelation first and last benefit only the mankind. Wallahu alam.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Shaykh, a lot of people in the media and politicians have scrutinized every facet of Islam and chosen in Australia to highlight the differences of minority groups. And they've made a big issue of multiculturalism here, and they say that people coming to this country should integrate, assimilate. The Prime Minister himself last year was saying that he didn't want to discuss all these ism words. Whereas in Canada, the Canadian government and the leaders of the Canadian Parliament have made the decision to interact with minority groups. They've chosen to work with these groups and as such have passed laws which has allowed the social cohesion of the country to gel together much better. For example, they allow under Canadian law, if you are Jewish or of a particular Christian belief, not the mainstream Christian Catholicism or Presbyterian or whatever, you are of a particular sect of Christianity, they allow you to divorce your wife under the laws of Judaism. They allow you to divorce your partner under those particular religious laws, as long as both husband and wife agree to going through that process. When the issue of Islam came into being and the Muslim groups were pushing heavily towards allowing equal rights for Muslims to practice Sharia law in marriage and in divorcing their partners, there was a lot of controversy over that, and it's still being debated. Do you think in Australia, the Australian government could have learned a lot from how the Canadians are interacting with the minority groups and allowing them to practice their beliefs, rather than invoking fear and encouraging discrimination and or extremism towards Muslims?
Well, from the main principle we have in Australia, as the freedom of speech, freedom of practicing your religion, as George Bush said about Al-Qaeda and others, they are attacking these values, our freedom of speech, they don't want the one to have difference in religion, they don't want to have democracy system, the same thing, working on giving the people their choice. And I don't understand how could be in a democratic country and have no democracy, in a democratic country and has no freedom. And where's the freedom? Where's the democracy in issues like this? Especially these issues help so much the country to work together and the government to be free from so many duties. And as you said, to divorce your wife according to your church. What's wrong with that? First, you know how much the courts cost the government and mediators and this hearing and that hearing, and the divorce take maybe sometimes more than 1 year. Why can't I say, okay, go and solve it yourself if you can. Free me from this duty. Free me from this headache. Maybe the Sheikh will understand how to solve the problem better than the judge. Or the Rabbi can change the situation of the family in a way better than the judge who doesn't even know about anything about that family. They just come with the lawyers and that's it. He knows only them as a piece of law and legislation. But the church and the mosque and the temples, they know their people. They communicate with them in at least in a weekly basis. They know what's their problem. They know what's the problem with the woman. I'm sure before they divorce, they go talk to their elders, talk to their priests, talk to their sheikhs, whatever. So he knows so much about the family and how we can solve. If you give the government, you means here the government, give the freedom to the people and to the elders of the community and to the churches and temples to interfere in these matters. First, they solve themselves a lot of trouble, a lot of time in taking this in process. And it is volunteer work anyhow, they don't pay for it. Third, it helps the community to work together. Not just court and court, I shout at you or I break your fence, then go to the court. I punch your face, you punch my, go to the court. I want to divorce my wife, nothing but the solicitor and the solicitor, and who has a better solicitor, who has a better argument in the... This is doesn't bring, even in the society, in the small unit of the society, which is the nuclear family, as they call it, the little family, they don't bring much harmony. And the court doesn't understand harmony. They understand this is right or wrong, and the argumentation between them forced by the ability of the two lawyers who put this argument better than this. This is why I would believe now anyhow, they realize some of the things. They try to bring some laws for the family that the two parents has to be, even if they divorce, they have to carry responsibility for the children, because they find the past laws, the old laws doesn't work for the children. Maybe it helps the one of the parents get rid of the children and he go free or she go free, and the other parent stuck with the children and has a problem with them. And as you know, the society is so hard now. Who can look after the kids? And if we lose the kids, and the society altogether lose, the country altogether lose. And this is in the end, we have drug addict kids because of these problems. So in reality, this is not just solving my religion problem or your religion problem or his religion problem. It solves a huge matter, which is the future of this country, the children of this country. What will happen to them after that? How we can deal with them? How many kids we have in the streets? And I remember still that statement of Bob Hawke in my head when he take over the office. In his time he said, I have 100,000 homeless kids. In the end of my term, I want to make them zero. In the end of his term, they become double. To have these children, who will carry this responsibility for? And this is mainly because of destroying the families, because of the divorce, because of alcohol problem, because of this, because of that. And because mainly the community doesn't have a say in these matters. Only the court has the say in it. And when we do it that way, we first, as I said, it costs the government so much, and it costs the country in general so much. And we don't want that. To bring harmony, to bring resolution, bring everyone to the discussion. And this is, as they say, the core of democracy is to put the decision of the community in the matter, not my decision or your decision. Let us think together, let's work together, and try to solve any problem, and in the best way for the country in general, not for this community or that community.